If marketing footage, developer showcases, and early previews are anything to go by, Crimson Desert is shaping up to be one of the most intricately designed open worlds that we've ever seen. The upcoming action venture is packed full with interlocking systems and environmental interactions that go way beyond just the surface level. From hyper-realistic animations of mundane activities to deep physics simulations and impressively detailed lore, here are 30 mind-boggling examples of attention to detail in Crimson Desert. Every resource gathering has its own animation. It's often too easy for resource gathering to boil down to pressing a button and watching something magically appear in your inventory. Not so though with Crimson Desert, where a tactile approach to every gathering activity yields a specific animation. Whether you're swinging a pickaxe to mine ore, chopping wood, or harvesting crops like corn, each interaction is an opportunity for the game to showcase your physical effort. Cooking is surprisingly deep. Cooking isn't just a menu-based buff system. No, Crimson Desert treats food preparation with care here, where gathering foodstuffs, cooking them up, storing, and eating is a fully animated process. Recipes can be discovered via collectible cards scattered throughout the world, while each meal grants specific benefits. So not only is this another incentive to explore, but it's a vital system which supports gameplay progression. NPCs operate on routine. Years ago, Shenmue established NPCs as regular townsfolk, each with jobs, responsibilities, and daily routines. Now Crimson Desert is poised to bring this idea to its fullest realization yet. The denizens of Pywell operate on their own accord, moving through the world, reacting to your actions, and interacting with each other in believable ways. They're not just static quest givers here, but living, breathing people who'd still go about their business whether you were actually present or not. Animals behave differently like real-life animals. Like Crimson Desert's human NPCs, the animals that you encounter on the continent, whether wild, farmed, or domesticated, operate on their own behavior, with your interactions mirroring their traits. Cats can be petted, can be cradled, farm pigs can be carried, and so on and so forth. A quirky detail has surfaced which indicates even specific breeds of animals offer unique encounters. It has been suggested that brown chickens can be gently held in your arms, whilst white chickens can only be carried by their feet. It's oddly specific, sure, but it points to the developer's dedication to crafting a believable world that feels plausible. Crafting and repairs are fully animated. Like resource gathering, cooking, and animal interaction, of course Crimson Desert's crafting and repair systems are going to feature bespoke animations as well. You see, there's nothing more jarring than a single input and whoosh, a new sword just conjures right out of thin air. Arguably less subtle than chicken carrying, to be sure, the attention the developer has given crafting, repairs, and the host of other hands-on activities has been all there to maximize the game's immersion. Individually, they don't amount to much, but collectively these attentions to detail will be a key factor in selling believability. Combat animations reflect direction of impact. In combat, your enemies won't simply absorb damage and stagger, but will recoil according to the direction that they've been attacked. Physically tied to incoming strikes, whether an enemy is hit from the front, back, or side, the force will push them the opposite way. Directional impact animation isn't a revolutionary feature, but during the franticness of large-scale skirmishes, it'd be easier for the developer to just overlook this very detail. Enemy reactions chain together. Expanding on the point just raised, one of the most impressive examples of enemies recoiling with direction comes when, during the heat of battle, Cliff pushes an assailant. This opponent is hurled backwards, colliding with another soldier's horse. Startled, the horse bucks violently, flinging its rider through the air. This is an excellent example of unscripted physics merging together, producing a realistic, surprising interaction. Horses run free. This is another observation made during one of Crimson Desert's battle scenes. Look closely through the mayhem and you'll spot war horses running without a rider. While this might not initially seem significant, if you think about how the horse has ended up riderless, its rider of course has been down during the fight, making the horse's solitary galloping more meaningful here. Yes, horses will bolt when scared, but there's also a story behind it showing that Crimson Desert's life cycle continues even in the microcosm of battle. Horse movement is weighted and physical. Horse traversal isn't just about traversing from one place to the next at speed. Mounts in Crimson Desert move differently depending on the terrain, incline, their momentum, and direction. Galloping uphill slows their pace and wears them out, while turning sharply carries noticeable weight transfer. These physical responses make riding feel authentic, action you'll need to continually engage with. Environments have destructibility. Pywell's environmental objects aren't just static set dressing. Stone walls can crumble, trees can be destroyed, watchtowers can be leveled. In fact, most structures appear to exhibit destructibility to some degree. From colossal castle strongholds, more on this in the next entry by the way, to wooden carts which will splinter into bits on contact. Siege weapons and physics interactions. Large-scale combat sequences show siege weapons which appear to physically interact with structures and the environment at large. Watching massive projectiles collide with fortifications adds a layer of spectacle, sure, but destructibility of this ilk expands strategic choices as well. Cover can actually be destroyed, structures can be flattened, entryways can actually be created, and so on and so forth. What's more, broken objects and debris remain in the environment for the remainder of the battle. Debris depends on how hard that you hit. Sticking with destructibility for another entry, as this mechanic highlights the intricate lengths the developers are willing to go to make the bridge between reality and video game fantasy as small as possible. Those destructible structures and items we just highlighted, well, the amount of debris that's left depends on how hard that you hit. So let's take a wooden gate for example. Slicing it with your sword might yield shards of wood, whereas smashing it with a great hammer could send entire chunks of wood flying. Terrain reacts to combat. Fighting in Crimson Desert is swift, freewheeling, and complex, but the location you engage in battle sells the visual experience as much as the depth of the maneuvers. Scrap in the desert and you'll kick up plumes of dust and sand, while grassy plains see blades of grass part and ripple around your movements. Equipment stays wet after water exposure. Should you dive into a river or get caught out in heavy rain, your clothing and equipment won't just instantly dry. Fabrics and materials stay visibly wet for an extended period of time. Like most entries on this very rundown, this one's only minor, but it's another tick next to realism. What's unclear at this stage though, although it wouldn't be surprising of course, is if your clothes dry quicker out in the sunshine. Water physics are remarkably detailed. And beyond just clothes staying wet, we have water itself, which behaves convincingly across a string of environments. Waves lap against the shoreline, with noticeable tide marks on coastal rocks. Rivers flow dynamically through the landscape, whilst rainfall visibly interacts with surfaces. What we're hoping you'll get from this feature is how all of this detail isn't just for a studio to flex its proprietary game tech muscle, but to actually make sure environments feel alive however the technology allows. Fire spreads naturally. Fire propagates through combustible construction, materials, and surroundings. Case in point, should a wooden outbuilding catch a flame, the fire will likely spread organically to surrounding grassland. This sort of system confirms a very real connection between your actions and the effect that they could have on the environment. Whilst not likely to affect the narrative, you at least get the sense that your behaviors do carry consequences. Fire changes structural properties. Sticking with fire, as this is the best example of this happening, although we of course can't rule out other environmental hazards reshaping the landscape beyond just aesthetic changes. What we're getting at with this one relates to one specific report of a wooden gate which initially couldn't be smashed down even while it was burning. It was only afterwards, when the materials were reduced to smoldering embers, that the structure was weak enough to actually charge through. Arrows can be lit manually. Yes, we know, more fire. You'll be able to light the tips of your arrows if you hold them over an open flame source such as a brazier. Once lit, these arrows become more devastating ammunition or tools to ignite flammable objects throughout the environment and spread fire across the landscape if your arrows are wayward. Fundamentally, anything burning across Pywell can be used tactically, pragmatically, or just for fun. Sometimes you just want to watch the world burn. Nighttime is properly dark, like medieval dark. Many open world games might artificially brighten their nighttime environments to maintain the game's visibility. Crimson Desert instead embraces realistic darkness. You'll need a light source here, and from footage shared by the developer, it seems your mount can carry some sort of torch, at least, because without it you'd be hard pressed to see your hand in front of your face. In other words, nighttime might be genuinely difficult to navigate, making firelight more meaningful than in other games. Weather systems affect visibility. Heavy rain, fog, and storms don't just make for inclement conditions, but can alter visibility and atmosphere across the landscape as a whole. Mist will cling through valleys, rain reduces sightlines, while snow and ice turns traversal into a biting war of attrition. Ranging from subtle all the way to expedition ending, you'll need to keep a keen eye on the weather as it moves in real time. It is poised to shape your approach to exploration and combat alike, not through survival like thirst or hunger mechanics, but in stamina, patience, and perseverance. The world map is enormous. Although still unconfirmed, reports are circulating that Crimson Desert's continent of Pywell is ginormous. To sort of put it into some context, rumors suggest it'll be twice the size of the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. If true, it could take approximately 2 hours to cross by horseback. Now, scale doesn't of course guarantee quality, but we're including it in this rundown because 1, that map size is definitely mind-boggling to say the least, and 2, the game's presence of interlaced mechanics and systems means that gameplay depth will scale across vast distances, and that's obviously a very exciting prospect. Almost everything is climbable. Yes, the developer has confirmed that nearly everything, every wall, tower, cliff face, or mountain will be scalable. And in case you hadn't noticed, there's no yellow paint to show you the way like in so many other open world games out there. This means that climbing is properly integrated into the world. You'll not be guided, yet with a raft of man-made structures and natural formations, you'll have near limitless opportunities to experiment with. This one's especially mind-blowing when you consider the mountain in recent climbing game Cairn had its structure practically handcrafted by the studio to ensure navigational freedom. Given the scale of Pywell, it's unlikely the developer has undergone the same process. It's intriguing to see how climbing will actually work once you get yourself to the foot of a sheer rock face. Distant objects are highly detailed. Technical analysis from Digital Foundry noted that even faraway objects retain impressive levels of detail. Forests and farmland, structures and settlements, these all remain relatively convincing at long distances, pointing to a world which feels cohesive and vastly explorable. If you can clearly make out something interesting in the distance, you're going to want to go there. Faction territories can be reclaimed. Sure, at face value, this one isn't a minuscule detail. Heck, it isn't even all that unique given Stalker 2 presents the same contested territories that can be cleared for your own gain. What Crimson Desert does that relatively is unique for its antagonistic factions are uprooted. These locations actually don't stay hostile. No, normalcy appears to resume, with ordinary townsfolk moving back in to reclaim their lost space. Fishermen repurpose the riverside in believable ways, farmers return to their pastures, villagers recommence trading, and more. The knowledge base is massive. So again, not necessarily a tiny detail, but potentially thousands of tiny details all rolled into one codex. We're operating on speculation again here, but reports are emerging that the in-game knowledge base contains nearly 3,000 entries. That's staggering. From wildlife to events, locations, and enemies encountered, should this one turn out true, then the sheer volume of information will certainly flesh out this world, if not make seeing everything feel quite insurmountable. Clothing reflects regional identity. Each of Pywell's 5 countries has their own distinct culture, geopolitics, and wealth distribution, so it's expected that NPC attire will change depending on their home region. Yet operating on a micro level, individuals within specific regions will wear clothing that reflects their background and occupation. Character customization is incredibly granular. If you've not guessed it by now, Crimson Desert likes to go deep, like really deep. Character customization exemplifies this beyond most of the systemic attention to detail this feature has highlighted so far. Going well beyond basic presets, color palettes alone appear to offer dozens of shades for each piece of clothing and armor, with a range of materials to boot. Want your tunic to be a precise shade of red? Well, chances are Crimson Desert will let you fine-tune it. Clothing material rests realistically. How many times have you customized your character's attire, only to find their clothing clipping into their back-mounted shield? Well, through Crimson Desert's proprietary game engine, specific attention has actually been placed on how different clothing materials react and rest against each other. Your cloak surrounds your undergarments, and your armor sits realistically underneath your holstered sword. This tech expands to hair physics as well, as hair flows true to form depending on movement speed and wind direction. Abyss artifacts are richly detailed. We're including this one simply because they look so rich. Crimson Desert's artifacts are progression-based collectibles, falling from a mysterious realm overhead as rewards for the end of quests or to be discovered out in the wilds. Holding one in your hand reveals intricate detail, ancient scripture, weathered edges, and texture. The detail in these items hints at a forgotten history, a deep lore just begging to be rediscovered. The economy evolves independently. Rather than reacting directly in response to your behavior, Crimson Desert's in-game economy reportedly shifts over time based on systemic factors. It appears that the market will fluctuate independently, whether you're progressing through the world or not. I guess look at it this way, this is an example of the game's living world that isn't tangible. You can hold it in your hand, have a conversation with it, or influence its direction for your own ends. Pywell is certainly a place with autonomy. So, what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.